I compiled this presentation because there was a lot of questions regarding waste management and the possibilities of getting building materials from waste. It's at this moment purely a Dutch perspective, and the idea behind this presentation is I see it as a first presentation, and if there's interest in specific themes, I have the municipality of Almere backing me to share specific insights into specific themes if you would like more details. So first I'm going to start off with a general introduction. Then I'm going to focus on the reuse of material. I'm going to give some examples. And I'm going to look from my perspective what the challenges I think might be for implementation in Ukraine. Obviously, you guys can join in and help me complete that list because you know it way better than I do. Okay. How waste management is organized in the Netherlands. First of all, most of the waste management is done by private contractors. But it's the local governments are responsible for organizing waste management and providing and procuring services. The provinces or regions are responsible for the environmental permitting, monitoring and enforcing of waste management projects and procedures. And the national government provides legal frameworks, financing, and supports the provinces and regions when it comes to very specific types of waste management. If you think about the Netherlands, then you might think of Tata Steel, for instance, which is basically so specific that the government has a team for that, and the province itself does not do that. And the mantra of waste management in the Netherlands for the past couple of years has been to reduce waste at the source, to try and reuse materials repeatedly if possible, to recycle materials and to make new products out of them, and recovering energy from waste, burning for generating heat, for example. And the last and least favored option is the landfill. A bit of interesting trivia here is that in the Netherlands in, I think it was 1995, they kept the volume of all landfills in the Netherlands. So no landfill in the Netherlands is allowed to grow bigger than the cap set in 1995. Okay. This is a quick, some statistics about how efficient the policies were. What you can see here is the amount in kilotons dumped. You can see that in 2006 there was a very high amount. The red, just for interest, the red colors on the graph, that's building material. Light blue is household material, and the rest are various types of waste. Basically they started legalizing what type of reusable, I suppose that behind point 2 should be what types of materials can be used. As you know, the usage of plastic bags have been greatly outlawed, and they took measures to promote the circular economy. I don't know if the translation is correct, but these are all the circular economy themes that central government has. Everything from asphalt to food and litter, but you can also see diapers, office waste, household waste, electrical equipment, roofing, concrete and other building materials, etc., etc. There's almost no material and they don't have a policy for it. I added the links to the policies below. So, and you may share the presentation afterwards so that people can go read. A lot of it is in Dutch, but you can translate it with Google. So this is the city of Almere as a practical example. The blue dot here at the bottom. And Almere is the 8th largest city in the Netherlands. And it exports a lot of its waste to the blue star at the top there, which is the municipality of Alkmaar. Almere's dump has reached its limit and has therefore been turned into a beautiful piece of landscape architecture. In Alkmaar, they have an intensive regional waste management program going. So the solid waste from Almere goes to Alkmaar. The waste that can only be burnt goes to Alkmaar. If you look at the photo at the bottom, you can see the red building on the horizon there. That's the red building over there. It's designed in the form of a tulip. I think with a bit of imagination, you can see that. And at the top, a different location in Alkmaar is where they try and recover recyclable materials. All of this happens through the Upcycle Center in Almere, or happened. It's been closed recently. The Upcycle Center was a local initiative where materials were upcycled, i.e., instead of used for, let's say, an airbag of a car being used to design or produce designer dresses. So it gains value, therefore upcycling instead of recycling, or making perfumes from green waste, etc. And below you see a logo Sherwin. That is where all of the building material goes. And Sherwin is a regional provider based in Almere, providing parts of Amsterdam, Almere, and the rest of the province. The Upcycle Center, what they did there is that the waste was collected by the municipality. Businesses would take the waste and select certain parts of the waste for products such as I said, clothing, designer light fixtures, perfumes, name it, they built it. What they did, they turned waste into a supply of materials and matched it to the demand by the producers. And some of the production actually happened on site. Others, for instance, the perfumery happened in a laboratory somewhere in Amsterdam. And it also was an educational center and a business local economic development incubator. This led to a couple of spin-offs, and what you're seeing here is a lady in Lebanon, where a couple of municipalities adopted this principle of upcycling and recycling. So for all of you who are interested, this site is in English. You can go to the website of Logo Rep and a partner project of VNG International. And the Green Deal's circular procurement that was based off experiences in, amongst others, Almere. And it's a method for governments to buy and procure upcycled or recycled products. And this Green Deal immensely helps small businesses who are in the business. And then you see Sherwin, again, I'll get back to them right now. Obviously, the Mayor Assad of Atani really loves his project. An example of building material that most people don't think of, the packaging of televisions and other large electronical devices, you know, that plastic that makes a lot of bubbles when you tear it apart. Styrofoam. That styrofoam can be used as insulation in buildings and as a means to pour concrete and as isolation for the bottom of houses. And that was one of their upcycling projects, is that they took a material that would otherwise be wasted and turned it into a lovely building material, which was used all over the Bekaa Valley. They serviced 5 surrounding villages, and they successfully, with the help of the United Nations, rehabilitated their open-air dump site, where previously waste was burned, and now it's done more hygienically and with greater care for the water. Serwan is a company. I would advise you to visit their website. If you click on the logo here, you will go to the website. It's a very active partner, and I do believe that if information is needed regarding, for instance, what you can do with concrete, sand, soil, and other materials, what you can use again as building material, or what you can use as landscaping materials, etc. These guys would probably gladly answer our phone if we asked them. And then bringing me to the last part of my presentation is the challenges I foresee for Ukraine, and this is partly during the war, but also afterwards. Service provision in towns and cities will be under pressure during the war, directly after the war, when cities get, especially the eastern cities, get back on track again, waste management will be a big challenge. You have the shortages of building materials and the ethical and legal questions surrounding them. And far into the future, maybe an opportunity lurks as Ukraine is growing closer and closer to the European Union. It's also starting to apply European regulations, and this will influence the waste management system in Ukraine greatly. But there's an obvious opportunity here, and that is to showcase that Ukraine, or cities or projects, could be a showcase for cradle-to-cradle reconstruction somewhere in the future. That was my presentation. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have questions. Are you guys still there?
Yeah, I think Alexander has a question.
Excellent. You were so quiet.
We're listening. I have a question. You said that there was a upcycle center, but it was closed. What was the reason why it closed?
It was a subsidized project, and the subsidy ran out. And for Almere alone to maintain and house such a project with Amsterdam right next door with competing projects was really difficult. So if Almere was, for instance, nearby Groningen somewhere, then it would probably still be open, but the market in the Amsterdam area is dominated. For this, is dominated by Amsterdam and Almere. Oh, sorry, not Almere, Alkmaar.
Or if the Almere would be bigger and this would serve their own community.
Exactly, yes.
But isn't it also the case that the business case for upcycling is actually not that large?
It's very specific. Yes, that's true. It's very specific. So, for example, the examples of perfume, clothing, etc., those are the examples you always get. Not everything is suitable for upcycling, it's a challenge to get people I for instance, worked on a project in the Middle East where we tried to recycle toilet water, because you could get 80% of it back and use it as potable water, but nobody wanted to drink it because they knew what they did in the toilet. So there's a culture as well. Yes. But like you said, it's not a solution for everything.
Yeah, I think it will be super interesting, because exactly when Ukraine needs to comply with the European regulations, it would be more advantageous to formulate a strategy on circularity rather than have to comply with, so it would be best if it came from government, from national government, so top down rather than trying to solve it bottom up. I think this is one big thing where this would pay off.
And I can imagine that in a big country like Ukraine, it's rather easy to find a bush somewhere where you can dump a lot of stuff. Yeah. So if government does not really focus on this area, it's something that's neglected, and you have the consequences a couple of years down the line with polluted water and things like that.
So would you advise that these kind of messages should be somehow via Dutch government, I don't know, the way we could find a way, was translated to the national government?
That's one way of doing it. I also know that there are a couple of European projects starting next year, which focuses on these themes where Ukraine is allowed to participate. And the idea behind these subsidies is to basically fund people to experiment with European laws and to do studies regarding what's the gap between what's happening in Ukraine and in Europe and what needs to be done and which opportunities are there. I do believe that taking the slower option, whether that's through the Dutch government or whether it's through a subsidy or something like that, is way better than just running in and telling everybody that upcycling is the new waste management Jesus. It's not going to work.
Yeah, it's a pity that Mykola and Mikita were not here, because Mykola, of course, did the presentation to the Ukrainian municipalities of how Mariupol approached it. And but I will. That's why it's good that we record this, because I will share it. And like you said, municipalities are operational in fulfilling the policy.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And then I believe you call them oblasts, the provinces. They are then checking whether the municipalities are doing it in accordance with the law. And national government basically funds experiments, tries new things. So you see a lot of the recycling and upcycling initiatives are funded by central government.
Yeah, I think the central government should formulate the goals and then give money to the oblasts to fund experiments, and then the municipalities should try and make them work.
Yes, and then you have a couple of private businesses that basically, I would say, I'm not exactly an expert in the amount of businesses, but I would say that there's about 10 big players covering the whole of the Netherlands. And municipalities basically shop a service from them.
Yeah, that's another thing. There's a market stimulus for private companies to do it. Okay.
So if I can be of assistance or anybody needs any information, I have the municipality of Almere standing ready to share. Yes?
Yeah, because there was for the not regarding the waste management, but regarding Almere, because the VNG International with the spring school, they look for the lectures, and one of the topic is participation, that they look for somebody in municipalities to give a lecture on this. And I heard that municipality of Almere is very good and very strong in their participation
Yes.
That, do you find some contact that we could give it to ENG International to give a lecture?
I think I have a name, Paul Mulder. I'll put it in the chat quickly. I know that Paul is not the expert, but Paul is their international officer. And Paul knows everybody in the municipality. So he's the guy, you talk to him, give a question, and he'll pitch up. They have a couple of interesting projects going in terms of spatial planning. One of them started in 2007-8. Build your own house in Almere. Now everybody has it, but they were basically the people that started doing that for low and middle income people. And they did that in Almere's Kwartier in Almere Poort. And then they also did Almere Oosterwold, where the whole idea is that the community should shape the whole neighborhood. So yes, they have a lot of experience, and they also do it for businesses and allow businesses to shape their own environment in a way that very few municipalities do. I used to work there.
And do you have a personal contact with this Paul?
Yes, he used to be one of the people working under me. I was the assistant chief of staff at Almere.
Could you please ask him about the participation? To whom?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the ENG they sent like a general email, and municipalities didn't reply on it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you know specific person to reach, it
And
might work better.
What topics do you have? Because I'm typing right now, so I can just add them in and then say, hey, Paul, do you know anybody who's an expert in?
It's better if I will send you the email.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm doing several things at the same time, so I'm maybe after the call. I cannot multitask.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, don't worry. And this gentleman, you can also Thijs van der Steeg. He is an expert in getting people and motivating people to do things in their living environment in general. So not as much building or urban reconstruction or those kind of things, but for example, he did his thesis at Almere. He still works there as well on how to get people to make their homes more sustainable. What do they need? How do you motivate them, etc., etc. So, and he's a bit of a professor by now, but I mean, good lecture is always good, right?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. I will look at your email and then send that through. And if there's no other questions, I think we can wrap this up, right?
Yeah, thank you very much.
It's a pleasure, Lena.
Have a good evening, everybody.
Will do.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.